let me start with the update. And after I give you the update, there will be questions and answers. And I divided the update into 3 parts. Of course, I'm going to give you the general update. And it's the details, it's big, and it will be answered in questions. But I want to give you the big picture first and the general idea. And then in the questions, what you have by the end, we're going to go to more details. So as of November 1, 2021, there will be no longer a permit system to enter Israel. I don't know if you were aware about a pilot program. So this pilot program will not function anymore. There is no need for that program. And nor there will be any apply in that program for a permit 30 days in advance, because we used, like if groups want to come, it's a lot of procedure, a lot of process. We have to get every person email and phone number, and we have to have all that in advance and send to the Ministry of Health, and then send it to the Ministry of Tourism. And they have both to agree about it. And the Ministry of Tourism have to agree. If we get yes from the Ministry of Tourism, and then the Ministry of Health say no, it will be all canceled. So that put people in stress, and that makes things so complicated. So that will be from November 1 canceled, despite there are few groups now in the country that went through that program. But however, still vaccination is a must in order to enter Israel. So I'm gonna pass now by 3 things. I'm divided today about 3 important issues. I'm gonna talk first about the conditions in order to enter Israel, what you need to have. Number 2, I will talk about the process before entering Israel, what you need to do. And number 3, I will talk about the process upon arrival in Israeli airport, Ben Gurion Airport. And then we leave the last portion for questions. So number 1, the condition in order to enter Israel. You must be vaccinated within 6 months of the trip with either a second vaccine or a booster. Now for Pfizer, at least 7 days after the shot, you're allowed to travel. Other vaccination types like Moderna or Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca, you need 14 days after the shot in order to travel. From the day of entry into Israel, but not more than 180 days when you're leaving Israel, all right? It's very important. Now, the accepted vaccinations are Pfizer, Moderna. They now agreed about Johnson & Johnson, even 1 shot, AstraZeneca, and there's another Russian one and European one. It's not important, okay? But I'm sharing the most important ones for Americans. So they agreed. First, it was few of them. Now they agreed about almost all the important vaccinations. Now, I'm gonna go to subject number 2, the process before entering to Israel. Now, you need to fill a form through the Ministry of Health. It's like a declaration form. I don't know if you traveled to Israel before, it was 24 hours in advance you need to fill the form. But now they said, and they gave 48 hours before your flight. And you should complete a form. Now I will share with you the screen about this form. And you have to understand that this form is like your passport, second passport. It's so much important to know that the Ministry of Health declaration form is considered to be your own responsibility, even if you are flying with a group. They are so strict about it. I had just a meeting. We have something called the Lishka, which is a covering of all the travel agencies in Israel, our voice to the parliament and the prime minister. So they said that this is so much important, and it's each person's responsibility to fill this form clearly. I shared the screen. Do you see the screen? Do you see the screen?
Yes, I see. Yes.
Great. So I share this screen, and because there are details, important details to take care of when you fill this form. It should be filled properly. And if it's filled properly, within minutes, you will receive an email. And in the subject of the email, do not reply, MOH, Ministry of Health. And you will receive immediately your green pass will be included. So even before you arrive to Israel, you will already have the green pass on you if all your documentation are right. If your vaccination certificate is uploaded in the right way. I'm gonna show you now quickly how to upload. It's very simple. So there are different, like around 7 steps. I will not go through all of them, but I want to go through the most important part, because any mistake in filling this form, it will delay all the group, and we don't want this to happen. So traveling by air, confirm and continue. Arrival in Israel by sea, by land, of course, by air. You fill your name, first name. I'm gonna do just an example. I know it's very simple, but I want to show you one point that is very complicated. Are you a citizen or permanent resident of Israel? Let me say, I am not. And are you a citizen or permanent resident of Israel? No, I want to say like I'm an American. Citizenship is United States. Just to give you an example. Passport number, blah, blah, blah. Date of birth. Okay, your mobile number required. Now, you need, this is an important point, you need a local mobile number, not an American mobile number. It's a must, because when the results are out, they will message that Israel number, and they don't want complications. So by that time you come, we will give you our mobile numbers, which one to use. And all the results will be on the phone, that phone number. Of course, you'll receive an email. And if you filled it right, you will receive immediately, like in 2 minutes, the green pass. But the mobile number, you need it in the country. Okay, email. First name of contact in case of emergency. Say Tony. Last name of contact in case of emergency. Mobile number of case emergency. So the country code plus 972. And just confirm and move on. Okay, you put like here, Ben Gurion Airport arrival. You have to put the exact flight, but I'm gonna go to, like put some like flight number, let's say 80. the country from which you depart to Israel, United States. Date of departure, let me say 28, date of arrival 29. Hour, you have to put the exact hour of the flights, okay? So it's so simple. No transit, have you visited the places? No. Okay. Relying places, visiting the 14 days, so no, if you didn't travel. Here is the important part, number 4. So you have, this is the health declaration. This is what I said, it's like your passport. So what you have to fill is one of these 3 things. Of course, most of the people will fill, I have been vaccinated, or I have recovered outside Israel, I have been vaccinated, or I have recovered in Israel or other. So you have been vaccinated, okay? You click on it, and what comes is your name. Here is the important part, the upload, all right? COVID certificate. You should have your COVID certificate with you. And when you upload it, it should be, like, to complete this form correctly, it should be in PDF file, all right? And not more than like 1 megabyte only. Now, I think some people have more than 1 megabyte. So you have to go to a link, which I'll show you, the PDF file, just to compress it. I know these are small minor details, but it's very important. Why? Because if you had an issue with this, that will delay not only you, will delay all your group. I had some incidents, some people uploaded the certificate not in PDF file, and it was not clear. So it made complications upon traveling. So just when you upload, make sure it's a PDF file, all right? And then you continue filling it, confirm, and it will continue easy, all right? And then I said, after you finish it, you receive an email in 2-3 minutes with the green card. So that means all is correct. Now, this form must be completed within 40 hours before the flight. It will be like the basis of your entry to Israel. And because this is connected with the Ministry of Health and connected with the Ministry of Tourism, there's a system, and all is going to be computerized. When you arrive to Israel, you show them that you have your green pass on you. This has been improved. I know people have difficulties in the past, but the system has way much been improved. And as I mentioned, you need also later, I didn't go into 5 and 6, number 5 and 6, you need to specify a location upon arrival. They will ask from you the specific street and the specific address and the house number and the place, which will be your first hotel, all right? You will check in. You have to fill that. And also, what is important, everyone knows this information, everyone needs a negative PCR test from within 72 hours prior to your takeoff, all right? So this is the first step, okay, before coming to Israel. And what is important, when you receive the confirmation email with the negative also PCR test, you have to print physically both papers, the one you just filled for the Ministry of Health and the PCR document. So, and you have it on your hands because it's easy in the airport to show them and to read much more clearly. So every client should have this with them. Now I will move to the third step, the process upon arrival in Israel in Ben Gurion Airport. Everyone, as I mentioned, including Israeli citizens, need to take a PCR test upon arrival to Ben Gurion Airport. It's a must. Before, we said 72 hours, and again upon arrival. I will share with you a link of this form that you can do it even book for an appointment for this test in advance before you come. And it's called Test and Go. And it costs around 80 shekels, which is like around $25. And I recommend everyone to do it in advance, all right? It's important. Don't wait when you arrive to the airport and fill it. Just fill it in advance, because you will have things much more computerized to the system in Israel. So you select your citizenship. Are you Israel citizen? Yes or no? Let me say no. You write your passport number, and here where you put the local Israeli number that will give you, all right? And because the answer for the PCR test will get back to this number. And then you agree, and then it's easy, very simple. You continue and follow the form, and you pay it by your Visa or anything. And you will receive a number, and you, upon arrival to the airport, you check in, and they will tag your passport. After they tag your passport, get the entry. Mostly now are machines, but there will be people that if you have a problem with machines, everything is computerized, as you know. Then you receive your visa form, and then you collect your luggage. And after you collect your luggage, you check out to Terminal 3. And when you are in Terminal 3, exiting the door, you will go to the left side in the airport still, but you think you finished. It's not finished. This is where you're going to take and pass through the PCR test. And when they do the test, there's like 40 people doing the test. The lines will pass so quick. You'll be impressed that it's very quick. And it is not like harsh, like you don't take it from the nose so harsh, okay? They take it much more gently and from the mouth. And what's happening nowadays, they improved the system. And I had some people after 2 hours receive the answer of the PCR test. Now, according to the law, you have 24 hours to receive the test. You can't start touring before you receive the answer of this test. But nowadays, I told you, like with the pilot program, people were frustrated. They came to Israel and there was confusions, and the test took a long time to go out, and they were stuck in a hotel. But now, at most, it will take 6 hours. So people come check in the hotel and sleep. Next day, the results will be out of the tests. Now, there is something new that most travel agencies, not all, but most, is something called insurance, especially for COVID, all right? And this is something special that we do through the Lishka, through the head of all the travel agencies. We came with a program to make people just feel good, because Israel said that if anyone comes and have COVID during the PCR test, they will be quarantined for 10 days. It's a must. So if you came to the Israeli airport and you made the PCR test and it showed that it was positive, you have to be quarantined, all right? But they came with an idea with insurance, special insurance for COVID, and it's not expensive at all, for 2 weeks. And it costs around $15 per person. And the clients, if they discovered that they have a positive PCR test, will be covered by the insurance, the Israeli insurance. But there's one important point. Now, if we say, I'm taking worst case scenario, if we say you came to Israel airport and they discovered after the PCR test that you are positive, you will not be covered by the insurance. by this specific insurance. If in the airport you made the test and when you went to the hotel, so they realized you have been having COVID before arriving, I know without you knowing, it will not cover you. But if you got COVID after entering to Israel and the PCR test was negative, this insurance will cover you. I tell you, they are very smart. They are super smart. I hope this makes sense. Now, there is no exceptions. Everyone have to be vaccinated before coming to Israel. All right. And this is the recent update that after November 1, Israel will open its door and permit groups and individuals, not only groups and individuals, to come and visit the country, but they have to be vaccinated. From the day of entry into Israel, not more than 180 days leaving the land, all right? So you need to be vaccinated. This is like a must. But in Israel, there is always options, but I don't want to go to this part, but there are, and there will be some really optional like excuses if people were not vaccinated, and it will only apply for like family members or weddings or humanitarian area needs, or it only applies for only emergency. And that might change, okay? So exceptions might take place for weddings, for births, and specific important like humanitarian, like urgent things, genuine things. But still that's not guaranteed, because what I just shared with you, we are waiting, and this is what all the travel agencies will submit to the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister will make a declaration, official declaration. Now, the Prime Minister agreed about all these points, but we need to wait to get out from the government, officially from the Knesset and the Ministry of Health. But this is the news before it's gonna be announced officially. It's not yet announced officially. The news here spread so big, all right, and so quick, and things might change. But these are, I made it very simple and direct, the steps and what was released recently. And this is good news. This is optimistic news. And these news might change. These things might change. They might, like after 2 months, if there was like another variant, they might change the laws. But it looks like everything is positive. They're opening the country, and they're allowing more people to come, individuals and groups. We are really sorry, because it's not actually sorry, but it's like Israel is so strict. They are very strict when it comes to these health issues. I know tourism, people can travel to Italy, Spain now, even Jordan, even Egypt, and only you need a PCR test. But now they made it much more simpler than before. The good news, pilot program has finished, and all the applications that we have to apply and all the details is not necessary right now, if people are vaccinated, all right? So this is the general news.